Hey guys, welcome back to Chit Chat and Tea with Amanda Marie. I am driving in my car. That's why you hear all this background stuff going on. I figured I would close this a little bit. I figured I would take the opportunity. I have errands to run, but I don't have any children with me right now, which is kind of a rare thing in my life. So I thought to myself, you know what? While I'm driving and I'm not holding my phone, so I'm safe. I have my phone aside, and I'm not looking at anything because I can just record me talking. So it's like I'm talking to you in my car as I'm driving. I figured that I would make this little video or whatever you want to call it. Just me kind of talking to you guys about something that's on my heart. Ooh, a dead raccoon. And on my mind. And that's what I'm doing. So welcome back. It's been a while, been a little bit since I've uploaded a video. I've been just like, life and blah, blah, blah. So, but have the opportunity right now. So here I am. Hope you guys are all doing good out there. Anyway, what's on my heart is, as you all know, unless you live under a rock, that, they have overturned Roe versus Wade, blah, 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 and constitutionally and all of this, and which, on the onset, as a believer, that is, fantastic news. As a pro-life Christian woman, of course, I rejoice in it, Anything that's going to at least save one life, I will rejoice in. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. But, of course, I have my suspicions as to why they're doing this, because the reality is, guys, that we do not live in a Christian country by any means. America at its roots is not Christian, okay? It is far from it. Now, that doesn't mean that there is a, fabric of Christianity within America. Okay, I'm not saying that there was, through believers coming here to this land to spread the gospel and to escape persecution and so on and so forth. So of course, I do believe we have a thick woven fabric, threaded into this country. But the founding fathers and, all of that they were not Christians. Okay. Anyway, just go to Washington, D.C. and you will see, Egyptian obelisks. You will see, idols. You will see, worship of idols and statues and, so on and so forth. So, I mean, to me, that's the proof is there for you to see with your own eyes. If you have eyes to see, and if that's something you want to see. If you don't want to see it, you won't see it. It's that simple. You will just put your head in the sand, head in the clouds, and turn, not look at it. But that's whatever. Anyway, this whole thing got me thinking and about, of course, abortion and the sanctity of life, and, God and his judgment, his wrath that is coming upon the earth, for the murder of all these innocent babies. and honestly, this has been going on since the beginning. Anyhow, but we brought it to a new level with the advent of abortion. With medical science and so on and so forth. But and abortion will continue in this country. Don't be mistaken. All they did was, they turned the power over to the states, as you guys know, and the certain states will still allow it, and those people that don't live in those states, well, I'm sure they'll come up with some programs, or they'll have something where they can get you to your most local closest state to your state to go get the abortion done and bus people in. Trust me, they're going to make sure that they continue with this. That being said, I just wanted to share kind of like my own personal testimony in regards to an unplanned pregnancy with you guys, because it does, whenever things like this come up, and it's on the kind of the front of my mind for whatever reason, I do always think back to my own life, my own decisions, my own situations that I've been through. And I have shared with you guys on my channel some of my personal testimony, bits and pieces of it. But anyway, so as some of you may know, I have 6 children, wonderful gifts from the Lord, my children, and that doesn't mean it's easy, and that doesn't mean that everything is, the way I want it to be by any means, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that my children are gifts from the Lord, and I am thankful for each one of them. And honestly, and I say this honestly, I wish I had more. If I could go back to when I was young, because I'm pretty much past, I'm technically not, but I'm older and not really what you would consider childbearing age, but if I could go back to my younger years, I would want to have more children. And that probably blows people's minds, because believe me, when I tell people I have 6 kids, a lot of times, not always, I run in circles of people that are, homeschooling Christian families. So believe me, it's not that uncommon for you to see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, when I'm out, more and not that setting, I definitely have told people have asked me, or whatever the case may be, and when I tell them I have 6 children, it blows their minds. They're like, what? Why? How? It's crazy. But anyway, now I lost my train of thought, guys. I hate when this happens. Basically, I was saying that they are a blessing to me, and that, I wish that I could have more. I do. I honestly do. So let me share with you, though, back to my testimony. My first child that I had, my son Elijah, who's now 26 years old, I had him when I was 20. And, when I got pregnant with him, I was living a very heathenistic life. I was not walking with the Lord at all. I was, very promiscuous and so on and so forth. And I was in a very bad place in my life. Let's just put it that way. Praise God. The Lord brought me back to him. The Lord didn't leave me in that dark place. Thank you, Jesus. But yeah, so when I got pregnant with him, I, was in a relationship with his dad for only, literally, I'm not kidding you guys, like a couple of weeks. And, and I want to just say this before I continue to share. I share this not to, because believe me, I struggle sometimes with things like, should I be sharing these personal things? Like, because I don't ever want to cause anybody to stumble. I don't know. I just, some of the stuff is, I'm not going to get into great detail, but, it's the reality. It is the reality. And I am an honest person. I'm honest with my children. My children know my past. I don't try to hide really things from them. I mean, I don't tell them certain things until they're old enough to receive it. But I certainly want my life to be a lesson for my children. And, and like, I've heard the saying many times, God has he can make a message out of my mess. He can take my mess that I did and make it a message to maybe help somebody else, that's struggling. So anyway, yeah, that I was in that situation, and I got pregnant with a man that I hardly knew. And, he was at the time, what he said was he was a recovering, drug addict. He was, had an issue with drugs. And when I met him, he had moved away from everybody that he was doing drugs with. So, we got together, and I thought it was, I wasn't in a good place in my life. You can only imagine. I mean, all of the above. So, but I mean, honestly, I never messed with like hard drugs. I smoked a lot of pot, drank occasionally, this and that, but I never messed with like hard drugs, like cocaine or heroin or anything like that, thank God. But he had like a cocaine habit. And anyway, when we met, everything just happened really quickly, and he said all the right things that I, so I thought, and kind of swept me off my feet kind of situation. And portrayed himself to be something that he wasn't, and I got pregnant. So when I got pregnant with my son, I was literally surrounded by people who were very pro-abortion. All of my friends at the time and people I was running in circles with were all pro-abortion. And I, honestly had friends that had multiple abortions. And I mean, I had a friend that had 8 abortions. I'm not kidding you. No joke. Now, keep in mind, at this time in my life, even though I wasn't walking with the Lord in my life, and I was completely, rebelling against his ways, I still believed in him. I still knew deep, deep, deep down in my heart that he got Jesus, and I never denied him. I never denied that Jesus was Lord. Jesus is the Messiah. I've believed in Jesus since I was a little girl. And, so I just kind of want to put that out there too, that deep in my heart, I knew the Lord was real. I knew that Jesus Christ was the Messiah. I just was backslidden, not, rebelling against him, his ways. So anyway, going on. So when I got pregnant, of course, everybody I knew at that time in my life, of course, and especially I only knew, my son's father for 2 weeks. And everybody was like, oh, you just need to go get an abortion. Like, are you kidding me? You know, um, I didn't tell my parents when I initially got pregnant. Um, I, I don't know. I don't remember how long I waited till I told them, but I wasn't living with my parents. I was on my own. And, I didn't know what. I was scared. I was really scared, guys. I really was. And the job I was doing at the time, again, I don't want to get into details, but let's just say that you really couldn't be pregnant doing that job. Um, and that was like, my income, obviously. And I'm sharing this because, for a split second, I remember slightly considering it, like, you know, and I remember I just was so scared and I didn't know what to do. Um, but, thank God, I, really, the God in me that was still left, that I had pushed down so far down, brought me to my knees, you know, and, I started to seek God again in my life fervently. Um, and in doing that, I thank God because, obviously, if you know the Lord is not going to advise you or guide you towards abortion. Adoption? Yeah, yes. But he would never advise you to abort your child. And, even though, the father of my son was, a drug addict and had a lot of issues, and he wasn't wanting me to get an abortion either. He was, I mean, if anything, I mean, I hate to say this, but now that, of course, looking back at my life, I see things very clearly. He was trapping me, because we actually ended up getting married while I was pregnant. Um, so he was in the process of trapping me into a relationship with him, um, that was extremely toxic and abusive and everything else. But that's a story for another time. I'm focusing right now on just the issue of an unplanned pregnancy, um, which, I mean, in a way, it does tie into it because, like I just shared, I only knew him for a couple weeks when I got pregnant. So as time continued on and I decided to, keep my child, and we ended up, deciding to get married and everything like this. But as time continued on, I started to realize that his true colors started to come out. And as they were coming out, it was terrifying. Because I started to realize what I had gotten myself into with him, and what I had gotten my child into, my unborn child into also. And it was pretty terrible, and it was pretty horrific. But despite all of that, even though I ended up being in this horrible relationship with this very abusive, mentally, physically, in every way you can imagine, person, Um, and, I was pregnant in the midst of this, horrible stuff going on. And it was a not, it was not a good experience at all for me. And, I look back at that, but I, the point that I'm saying this whole thing for is to tell you, to testify to you, to anybody that's willing to listen to this, that I have no shadow of a doubt that my son was from the Lord for me. I needed that. At that moment in my life, it was like I was on such a bad path of destruction that that's what it took. That's what it took to wake me up. That's what it took to get me on my knees. It took me getting pregnant, by somebody who was, and it's awful to say, but I mean, that the abuse that went on and so on and so forth, that's what it took to get me off of that path, though. I needed that to happen. I know that the Lord, in his infinite wisdom and his love, was, bringing these things into my life to draw me back to him. And a lot of people might, hear that, me saying that, and they might think, oh my gosh, what, you're nuts. But I'm telling you, I was pretty deep in, off the track. It wasn't just your average, like, oh, she's staying out late. I was on a very destructive path, guys. And, everybody's different, everybody's different, and it's different for everybody. But for me, that's what needed to happen. And there were times when I was with my son, while I was pregnant with him and after he was born, and I was terrified. I was alone. I didn't have really any support, in my life. The situation with my family and so on and so forth didn't really allow for that. Let's just put it that way. I was just in a situation where I was just felt very alone, very scared. And, of course, I ended up on welfare, and I ended up on, needing help from the state to help me, and so on and so forth. And for a time I was, and, I ended up finally leaving, my son's father for good, and, got myself and my son out of that situation. But, I was alone, until I ended up with my husband now, who I've been with for 25 years. And we've, had 5 more children together. But it, and I got with my husband that I'm with now when my son was 2. So those first 2 years of my son's life was just, very, very difficult. But again, there was never a day. I'm just saying all of that to say this. I remember going through that, and I remember just feeling like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to take care of my son by myself. I don't know, like, where, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But in going through all of that, never once did I ever wish that I didn't have my son. Never once did I ever regret having my son. Why? Because I knew I needed him. I needed that. Because through all of the madness and through all of the trauma, it drew me back to the Lord. It drew me back to the Lord. It got me on my knees. It got me in a place where I was so vulnerable and so desperate for God, and I felt so close to him. I remember going through those times and just crying and crying and crying and crying, and just, I remember feeling God so close to me in those moments, just comforting me in those moments. And, that doesn't mean that I went on and everything was hunky-dory, because I backslid again, guys. And I went into, situations again that weren't, the way that God would have had me done it. But I repented again. And I repented again. And that's what this life is. This life is all about learning and growing. And we fall down, and you've just got to humble yourself to God. If you do that, he's going to be right there with you to pick you up and to help you and to encourage you. He never promised us it would be easy. Never, never. He promised to never leave us or forsake us. He doesn't leave us, we leave him. We walk away from him. And when we do that, things happen. Things happen. Like, getting pregnant from a guy that you've only known 2 weeks. And he turns out to be a drug addict and super abusive and a narcissist, who is going to, abuse you in every way possible. So yeah, and I've forgiven him, by the way. I've forgiven my ex-husband. He's still a mess. And honestly, my oldest son grew up without him. No relationship with him. Very, very little relationship with him. Never paid child support, because here's the thing, when you marry a drug addict, they can't take care of themselves, never mind you or a child. So, never had any support from him whatsoever and everything else. But needless to say, I've forgiven him. I have no hatred towards him or anything like that. I know that had to happen to get me to wake up. That's what that was for me. And it hasn't been an easy road with my son, my oldest son. There were lots of different issues through his life. Of course, how could there not be? See, when we do what we do, when we sin and when we step out of God's will for our life, not only does it affect us, it affects everybody else you're around. It affects your children. It affects, your family, whatever. So yeah, it hasn't been easy. And, it's not a picture perfect anything. But again, my son is precious. He's a gift from the Lord. If I think sometimes to myself, if I wouldn't have had my son, the what I would be right now, I don't know. That scares me to even think of it, to be honest with you. It does. It scares me to even think like that. if I made the decision not to have my son. Now, in saying all of that, okay, guys, I want to say this. If I would have had an abortion, okay, there is forgiveness, okay? There is forgiveness. If I did it and then, repented sincerely, guys, like sincerely was sorry for what I did and was like, okay, that was horrible. I can't believe I did this. And I repented and I had true remorse about doing that. Okay. And asked God to forgive me. Of course he would forgive me. God is a merciful, loving, forgiving God. He forgives us. So, there's forgiveness. There's mercy. I've listened to many women's testimonies that have had abortion or multiple abortions, and they have gone and gotten, they have repented and they have forgiveness. I've heard testimonies of doctors who worked in abortion clinics who did hundreds and hundreds of abortions. I mean, maybe thousands, and they've repented and they've been forgiven. Okay? But I can tell you this, the road would have been a bit harder for me, I think, if I would have done it. I wouldn't have learned all of the really hard lessons that I learned through becoming a mother, through, going through everything I went through, and so on and so forth. So, there's that. And the big argument that, you hear is, well, if somebody's raped or if there's incest or things like this. First of all, I just want to say that's a very low percentage of women getting abortions. Okay. I want to say that is like in the 1% aisle, of the percentages of all the people why people get abortions. It is like literally so low. Okay. Most people who get abortions are doing it for convenience. They're doing it because, they got pregnant and they don't want to be pregnant and they don't want to have a baby and they don't want to have to deal with, being a mom and a dad and taking care of a child. Of course, then there's the people that, they feel like they can't afford it. They feel like they can't, or do whatever. All of that. That's most of the people doing this. Okay. So that argument that everybody puts out, oh, rape, incest, or medical emergency, type of thing. That's the argument everybody puts out. Okay. The only time, I'm going to say this, that it's permissible. If you, and this is a very rare thing, if you had a situation where mother and baby are going to die, okay? Like, the baby's going to die regardless, or something like that, but that is like such a rare thing. That is so rare, guys. And nowadays, with medical stuff, modern medicine, I mean, they can do C-section, they can do whatever, they can do this, they can do that to, save the mother, to save the child, whatever. Okay. Rape. Okay. So you get raped. Okay? Why are you going to kill your child? What did the child do? What did the child do? The child's an innocent victim. The child, not a victim. The child's innocent. The child didn't rape you. The child didn't ask for you to be raped. The child didn't violate you. Okay? If I got raped and got pregnant, I would have the child. I'm not kidding. As a matter of fact, somebody very close to me, I don't want to disclose, personal, the identity, because I haven't asked permission. Let's just say somebody very, very close to me has had that situation happen to her, and she kept the child. Okay? Because why? Because now she ended up having a miscarriage. Okay? But that's different. You have a miscarriage is different. That you didn't do that. That was God's will, and it happened. Okay? And then, of course, you have the people that say, well, incest. And again, guys, do not think that incest is a horrible, horrible thing, okay? I understand that. I do. But that does not give you the right, again, to kill the child. We are not God. We are not God. God has his set rules for things like this. And murder is one of the rules that he said, no, you're not allowed to do that. Okay, now, murder is different than, say, you're having a situation of self-defense, where somebody breaks into your house and they want to kill you and your family. Are you going to defend your family? Yes. Okay? Yes. If somebody broke into my house and wanted to kill my children, I would do everything in my power to try to stop them. Okay? That's different. That's not murder. That's self-defense. Do you understand? A baby in your womb is an innocent person. They're not trying to kill you. They're not trying to do anything like that. They're there. They didn't have a choice to be there. And God works in his own ways. God in his infinite wisdom knows things we don't know. His ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. We don't know why he would allow these things to happen, but they have a purpose. Just like my son, whom I got pregnant with at 20 years old, and I only knew the guy for 2 weeks, and blah, 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 and he was super abusive and a drug addict and everything else under the sun. He had his purpose. He had his purpose for giving me that child. You see? He had his purpose for it. And his purpose was to grow me and to, yes, discipline me. And yes, bring me to my knees and humble me. And, again, ultimately draw me back to him. That was the purpose. To mature me. To get me to care about something besides myself. There's a purpose for everything that God allows in our lives. And that doesn't mean that the situation he's allowing in our life is going to be easy. I'm not saying that having a child from a rape or incest would be easy. I'm not saying that at all. That would be a hard thing to go through. But then you have the situation of, okay, well, and I've talked to women through the years that I've advised them to just go put their child up for adoption. Because if you are, at a point where you're like, I can't do this, I can't be a mother, I can't, especially if it was rape or incest or something like that. Like I can't do, have this child and be a mother to this child. I totally understand, needing to put that child up for adoption. And I totally support that. And in many cases, that's the right thing to do, because there are so many families out there that can't have children, women, couples that can't have children. And they would love to adopt a baby. Now, the other thing I think America needs to do is make it less expensive to adopt, because make it more affordable, especially, I mean, how do they expect people to be able to afford to adopt all these children, and they're hardly, being able to, feed their family and so on and so forth. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay. And that's done on purpose, guys. That's done on purpose. Yes, you can adopt through foster care, and I understand, and go through the state and blah, blah, blah. But then there's all kinds of, hoops you got to jump through to do that. Especially if you're not jibber jabbed. You didn't take the jab, and, I mean, which a lot of Christian believing families are not on board with that. And you better believe that, guess what? Who was at the forefront of adoption? Who are the people that are doing foster care? Who's at the forefront of, people adopting children? Guess who it is, guys? Christians. Christians. We're the ones that are out there helping the needy, doing the orphanages, adopting children. Are you kidding me? So all of these pro-choice people you people, you don't support them once they get out of the womb, and that's a lie. That's a lie. That's not true at all. At all. Majority of the people adopting and doing these different charities, or helping the widows and the orphans and these are Christians doing this. Okay. You better believe it. Go look into it yourself if you don't think so. So again, it's all, the whole argument for, abortion to be okay is just completely false. It's completely false. Okay? At the end of the day, it's murder. That's all it is, plain and simple. You're murdering your child. For whatever the reason is, okay? For your own reasons. And again, I'm saying this, and I'm saying this, but I don't want to leave it like that. Like I've already stated, there is forgiveness. There is forgiveness. But guess what? You have to repent. You have to humble yourself. You have to put down your pride and say, oh, I was wrong. I was selfish. And as far as the argument of it's just a clump of cells, if you abort it, like right in the beginning, it's not even a baby yet. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, and it's sad to even see people even try to argue that, because especially again with modern science, and we have ultrasound, and we have all this, and it's, guys, the moment conception happens, it's a person. It's a person. The spirit enters that child, that creation. The spirit, God puts the spirit of that person into those cells, okay? if you want to call it that fetus, that embryo. And the moment that happens, life happens. A person happens. And when that baby is aborted, that spirit leaves that body and goes back with God. Okay? So from the moment of conception, it's life. It's life. You can't, change that. You can't. And then the other argument I hear is, it's like it's a parasite. If it can't live if it's taken out of the mother's womb after, so it only can survive out of the mother's womb at like 20 whatever weeks or whatever they say. So therefore before that, it's like considered, it shouldn't really be considered a person because it can't. Hello, when a baby is born, it needs to be taken care of. Okay? If you're not feeding that baby, changing that baby, caring for that baby, the baby's going to die. That baby can't survive on its own. Think about it. I mean, come on. These arguments are so like silly. They're just silly. They don't even make sense. Honestly. And again, I'm not here to berate anybody. I'm just here to share I just have to share my piece of my own experience. And, I am all about love. I am all about embracing people and helping people and trying to help people in love. But see, that's the other problem. We have a really, really tainted idea of what love is. We have this wrong concept of what love is. Love is not supporting everything, and just, being super tolerant and, being very supportive of every decision and no matter what it is. And, that's not love. That's not true love. Love is being real. Love is being honest. Love is telling the truth. Love is, yes, love is, embracing and supportive in a lot of things, but not if those things are harming you, not if those things are not true, not if those things are lies. Okay? And God loves those that he disciplines. Okay? Just like a good father disciplines his children. And, our Father, sometimes we need to be disciplined. Sometimes we need to be told, no, that's wrong. Don't do that. That's bad. Okay? So, that's love. Love is being real and honest and telling the truth, even when the truth isn't what the person wants to hear. And God is a gentleman. He doesn't force any of us to do things his way. We have free will to do things the way we want to do, but guess what? There are consequences. There always, there's consequences for every decision we make. And, people focus like, if you have an unplanned pregnancy and, you're in a bad situation like I was, I could have sat and focused on all the negative stuff, that happened to me. But I choose to focus on the positive. And the positive is that my son helped me so much to grow up, to become closer to the Lord, to come out of a dark, dark place in my life. God used my son to do that, to help me, to come out of that, you know. So guys, and all the craziness of all of this, because, and that's the thing, I think part of the reason that they did this, they overturned Roe v. Wade, is because they're just wanting to cause more division, more division, more division, more division among the masses. Because trust me, guys, trust me, they don't care about babies' lives. They don't care about us. They don't value us. They don't value life. These people that are running this show are evil. Okay? They're evil people with evil intentions. And yes, some lives will be saved. Okay, and praise God again. But don't be mistaken, don't be fooled that, oh my gosh, now all of a sudden, we're back in the good graces of, because this I mean, honestly, like, there's so much blood on America's hands already from the since 1973. Approximately 70 million babies have been murdered. Okay? Take that in. Take that in. Think about that for a second. And you think that, oh, it's all good now? No. Stop. And again, they're going to continue killing children. Stop. You know what I'm saying? Of course they are. Meanwhile, it's going to be riots and upheaval and chaos between the right and the left, and that's the right and left paradigm. The false paradigm is that's what they want you to get sucked right into and put all your eggs in that basket and go, fight this war of the flesh, and just don't buy into it, I guess. I mean, and that's pretty much the way I see what's happening here. Because again, these people that are in power, and that includes Trump. I mean, he's just part of the theater, guys. He's part of the theater. It's just a chess game. It's a chess game, and they have to give everybody, different moves, the right against the left, and the right now feels like they had some kind of victory. So they're all up and puffed up over it. But, in reality, it was just a chess move to cause more division, to cause more upheaval and chaos. And again, I'm not saying that I do not rejoice in the fact that because they did that, lives will be saved. Okay? You better believe me that I do rejoice in it. I praise Jesus that lives will be saved because there will be women that are like, well, you know what? I live in a state where I can't get an abortion, and I guess I'm just going to have to deal with this or whatever. I'm sure there will be, but don't forget, guys, you can buy the morning after pill at your local drugstore. Okay? They sell that right, in the drugstore now. Okay? So if some if some girl goes and has unprotected sex, and all she has to do the next morning is say, oh crap, you know what, I just had unprotected sex, I'm going to go get that morning after pill just to cover all my bases, because you never know. Okay, so again, they have access to this. Okay, so let's not fool ourselves and think that, oh, everything's going to be, fantastic now, and so on and so forth. Don't be fooled, but again, I just wanted to share a little piece of my life with you guys. And again, I'm sorry if this upset whoever I am. I love you. I do, believe it or not, guys. I mean, even though we may disagree, but I love I do. I true love tells the truth. Okay? And I'm not trying to offend people. I'm not trying to, the truth is never trying to offend people, but it does. It does. I mean, Jesus offended so many people. They killed him. Okay? But I'm not trying to offend people. I'm not trying to stir a pot. I'm not trying to, make people feel condemned. And I want to end it. I'm going to end it, guys. And I do want to end it on that note. I am not here to condemn anybody. Okay? I am here to, the Holy Spirit doesn't condemn you. It convicts you. It convicts you of your sin. Okay? And we are all sinners, guys. All of us, we have all sinned. We all fall short. Every single human being. And in the conviction, the Lord wants you to turn to him and turn your ways over to him and surrender to him. And that's where you're going to find peace. That's where you're going to find hope. That's where you're going to find all those things you desperately need. We all need. And if you don't, you're not going to have those things. Okay? So don't think this is about me coming up here judging, like being like, oh, I'm going to judge everybody and who's had an abortion or who's pro-abortion. No, I'm making a righteous judgment in saying it's wrong because it is. And we have to make judgments like that. We have to make judgments every day. I have to make judgments for my children every day. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and if I just sit and let her watch anything, I have to make judgments on, no, you're not allowed to watch that. Okay, you can watch that. No, you're not allowed to do this. Okay, you can do this. That's making judgments on what's best for my daughter. Okay? So, yes, I'm making a righteous judgment by saying it's wrong. Don't do it. It was wrong to have sex out of marriage in the first place. It was wrong the only person we should be having sex with is our husbands or wives in the marriage, situation. You shouldn't be having sex outside of that. And when you have sex in your marriage, you're supposed to want to have children. You're supposed to want to get pregnant because that's what the Lord intended, for a man and a wife to come together in a marriage and procreate. Okay? So we're so out of the realm of where we should be in this country, in this culture, in this society. We are just so out of it. And as a believer, as a Christian, these things really don't apply to my life. Honestly, I was listening to somebody last night that I listen to on a regular basis, and he said it very well. He basically said, listen, abortion is an issue for the lost. This really isn't an issue for us. You know, it's not like as believers we sit around and talk about, oh, is abortion right? Is it wrong? No, we know without a shadow of a doubt it's wrong. It's not even it's not a hot topic. It's wrong. Okay? Period. End of story. Done. But, you know, I do believe that we are supposed to be the light in the darkness. So that's why I'm here. I'm shedding light and saying, hey, it's wrong for every reason. For any of the reasons you think it might be right, it's still wrong. Okay? Because God, in his infinite wisdom, knows better than us. That's it. And again, at the end of it, guys, I love you guys. I'm not here to condemn. And the Holy Spirit will convict you. And that's a good thing. You want to be convicted. The day I stop feeling convicted of my sin is a scary day. Okay? The day that I don't feel the conviction of the Holy Spirit in my heart, in my spirit, would not be a good day for me. Because that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow. That's what keeps me grounded. That's what guides me in my life. Okay, so if your conscience is so seared that you don't have any conviction over murdering babies, I pray the Lord helps you. I pray the Lord convicts you. I pray the Lord softens your heart. And guys, I'm just going to leave it at that. I've already been blabbing on for almost an hour. So I'm glad I was able to sit down and share this little bit of a testimony with you guys. And again, keep praying, keep in the word, guys. He will guide us in all things, and God bless until next time, guys.